Have you ever wondered why some people seem to effortlessly attract wealth while others struggle no matter how hard they work? What if I told you that the difference lies not in hours of labor, but in the vibration you maintain as you drift off to sleep? Now, I want you to think back to last night as you were falling asleep. Were your thoughts filled with worry about bills, financial stress, or the endless struggle to make ends meet? Or did you drift into slumber carrying the feeling of abundance, completion, and gratitude? Because that precise moment, the threshold between wakefulness and sleep, holds more manifestation power than perhaps any other time in your day. But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Has this ever happened to you? You've worked tirelessly, followed all the conventional wisdom about wealth creation, yet still feel like you're swimming against the current? What if I told you that your approach might be fundamentally misaligned with how abundance actually operates in the universe? The ancients understood what modern society has forgotten, that wealth isn't earned through time, but through tone. The law of assumption, as Emmett Fox taught, operates most powerfully during night stillness, when the analytical mind surrenders to the creative power of imagination. This isn't mysticism or wishful thinking, it's a fundamental principle that governs how energy manifests into matter. Stay with me until the end, because what I'm about to share might completely transform your relationship with money. The wealth frequency isn't some abstract concept. It's a tangible vibrational state that you can learn to embody. Money, at its core, isn't paper or digits in an account. It's energy in motion, responding not to your effort, but to your energetic state. Think about it. Have you noticed how money seems to flow to those who exude certainty rather than desperation? How the anxious chaser repels the very thing they pursue, while the assured attractor seems to magnetize opportunities without strain? What you're about to discover might surprise you, because it contradicts everything we've been taught about wealth creation. We've been conditioned to believe that financial abundance comes through action, planning, and strategic effort. But what if the true catalyst has always been the emotional frequency you maintain, the vibrational language through which you communicate with the infinite intelligence of the universe? If these wealth principles resonated with you, subscribe to join our manifestation community where we explore these transformative concepts in depth. Each new video builds on these foundations to help you embody the wealth frequency in every area of your life. Tonight, as October's transformative energy surrounds us, I want to guide you into that sacred space where imagination rules and manifestation begins. We'll explore how to speak to money in the only language it truly understands: feeling. Because when you align with the wealth frequency, your reality begins to shift in ways that might seem miraculous to the untrained eye. The truth is that wealth creation operates on a completely different principle than what we've been conditioned to believe. It's not about the hours you invest or the effort you exert. It's about the vibrational tone you maintain in your consciousness. Think of it this way: you could spend decades climbing a ladder only to discover it's leaning against the wrong wall. Many of us have experienced this revelation during our financial journey, haven't we? We've been taught that wealth is the result of time invested, but Emmett Fox reveals a profound truth. Wealth is actually the result of tone cultivated. This mindset transformation completely reframes our approach to abundance. When you consistently vibrate at the frequency of certainty, gratitude, and being supplied, you naturally begin to dissolve the obstacles that once seemed impenetrable. I've witnessed this subtle shift create radical changes in people's financial realities. Debt begins to dissolve not through struggle, but through alignment. Opportunities appear seemingly out of nowhere, presenting themselves at precisely the right moment. The hidden truth is that money operates according to universal principles, responding not to your labor, but to your energy. It's attracted to stability, certainty, and peace, qualities that can only emerge from within. Think about the times in your life when things flowed effortlessly. Weren't those the moments when you weren't desperately chasing results, but rather resting in a state of trust? I remember a period in my own life when I was constantly counting bills instead of counting blessings. The more I fixated on what was lacking, the more lack seemed to multiply around me. It was as though the universe was amplifying my anxiety, reflecting it back to me in ever-expanding ways. The breakthrough came when I realized I had been approaching wealth from precisely the wrong direction. Money doesn't respond to desperation. It doesn't come to those who anxiously chase it down every avenue. Rather, it naturally gravitates toward those who have found the internal confidence to rest in the assurance of already having it. This might sound paradoxical at first, but the deeper wisdom reveals itself when you begin to practice it. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring the practical aspects of this internal revolution. The journey toward financial freedom isn't about acquiring more. It's about becoming more. It's about cultivating an internal environment where abundance feels natural rather than foreign. When you shift from the vibration of wanting to the vibration of having, you create an energetic signature that the material world must eventually match. This revelatory approach doesn't deny the value of action, but it places action in its proper context. Inspired action, flowing from a state of abundance, creates very different results than desperate action stemming from fear of lack. One leads to expansion and joy. The other perpetuates the very conditions you're trying to escape. The astonishing impact of this understanding comes when you begin to observe how your relationship with money transforms. Decisions that once felt heavy become clear. Opportunities that were invisible suddenly appear in plain sight. The entire financial landscape shifts, not because the external world has changed, but because your perception, your vibrational offering, has fundamentally transformed. Write in the comments, "I choose certainty," if you've ever experienced that moment of clarity when you stopped chasing money and instead began embodying the feeling of already being wealthy. This internal shift is where the real power lies. This internal shift is where the real power lies, and it's accomplished through what Emmett Fox describes as the 3 essential stages of wealth embodiment. These stages form a blueprint for rewiring your consciousness to harmonize with abundance itself. The first stage begins with the command, a clear, decisive declaration of what is. Not what you hope might be someday, but what you recognize as already true in the unseen realm. This command isn't wishful thinking or desperate pleading. It's speaking with the quiet authority of someone who recognizes their creative power. It's the voice of certainty that echoes through the chambers of your being, declaring, "I am wealth," not as a future possibility, but as a present reality. This revelation transforms the way you perceive your relationship with abundance. But the command alone isn't enough for profound transformation. The second stage requires you to emotionally experience your declaration as real. This is where many seekers stumble on their journey. They speak the words without feeling their truth. They affirm abundance while still vibrating at the frequency of lack. The breakthrough occurs when you bridge this gap, when your emotional body aligns with your verbal declaration. Imagine the difference between someone saying, "I'm confident," while trembling with fear, versus someone whose every cell radiates that confidence naturally. The words are identical, but the vibration beneath them couldn't be more different. This is the hidden dimension of manifestation that most traditional approaches overlook. Your emotional signature speaks far louder than your words ever could. The third stage, perhaps the most counterintuitive yet crucial, is rest. This sacred pause allows your declaration to germinate in the fertile soil of consciousness without the interference of doubt or anxiety. It's the divine surrender that says, "I've planted the seed, now I trust in the perfect unfolding." This rest isn't passive resignation, it's active faith, the profound knowing that what has been declared and felt must, by universal law, materialize in perfect timing. This three-stage process creates an energetic alignment that catalyzes remarkable shifts in your external reality. But to truly embody this wisdom, we need to understand a fundamental truth about the nature of money itself. Behind the illusion of physicality lies a more profound reality. Money isn't matter, it's vibration in motion. This perspective shatters conventional thinking about wealth. We've been conditioned to believe that money is just paper and metal, or numbers in some distant ledger. But these are merely the symbols, the physical expressions of an energetic current that flows according to universal principles. Money, at its core, is motion, a vibrational frequency that responds instantaneously to the tone you're maintaining within yourself. The universe doesn't hear the words you speak about money. It hears the meaning behind them, the steady hum beneath your declarations. You can repeat affirmations of abundance from dawn till dusk, but if your inner song is still playing the melody of scarcity, that's the frequency the universe will match. This explains why so many well-intentioned attempts at manifestation yield disappointing results. Subscribe now to continue this journey of consciousness transformation. I share these powerful techniques because they've changed thousands of lives, and I'd be honored to have you join our community of conscious creators. I've witnessed countless individuals experience profound awakenings when they grasp this principle. Their relationship with wealth transforms from an external pursuit to an internal resonance. The journey shifts from "how do I get more money" to "how do I embody the frequency that naturally attracts abundance." This subtle but revolutionary change in perspective opens doorways to possibilities that were previously invisible. The brilliance of this insight is that it places the power firmly back in your hands. You're no longer at the mercy of economic conditions, job markets, or external circumstances. You become the conscious broadcaster of your financial reality, deliberately tuning your inner instrument to the frequency you wish to experience in the material world. Type "I am the vibration" in the comments if you're ready to stop seeing money as something outside yourself that needs to be chased and start recognizing it as an energy that responds to the tone you're broadcasting from within. This perspective shift is just the beginning of a profound recalibration of your relationship with abundance. This perspective shift is just the beginning of a profound recalibration of your relationship with abundance. When we look deeper into how this energetic principle operates, we discover something truly remarkable about the creative power of your inner world. Every word you speak, every emotion you feel, and every thought you nurture carries a specific tone, a vibrational signature that sends out a call to the universe. This revelation illuminates why many people experience such disconnection between their stated desires and their lived reality. You might verbally declare, "I am wealthy," while inwardly vibrating with fear and doubt. The universe doesn't respond to your verbal declarations. It mirrors your secret sound, that invisible music playing in the background of your consciousness every single day. It's like having a radio station broadcasting from your heart that never goes off air. The question isn't whether you're broadcasting. You always are. The question is which frequency you're transmitting. Are you sending out the steady hum of confidence and gratitude, or the static interference of worry and lack? This awareness creates a radical shift in how you approach your financial blueprint. The journey toward authentic transformation begins with honest self-observation. take a moment to listen inwardly. What's the sound of your inner dialogue around money? Does it resemble the hurried, anxious rhythm of wanting, or the calm, peaceful melody of having? That subtle difference represents the watershed between struggle and flow, between chasing and attracting. This brings us to perhaps the most liberating insight in this entire awakening process. Wealth is permitted, not pursued. This paradox challenges everything we've been conditioned to believe about success and abundance. The conventional narrative tells us that wealth comes through relentless pursuit, through chasing, achieving, and conquering. But the spiritual economics revealed by Emmett Fox turns this paradigm completely upside down. Think of it as a profound reversal in your relationship with abundance. Most people expend enormous energy trying to pursue wealth, to chase it down like hunters after elusive prey. But this approach fundamentally misunderstands the nature of creation. You don't chase wealth, you tune to it. This metaphor of musical harmony perfectly captures the essence of authentic manifestation. Imagine a musician who demands that the entire orchestra adjust to their single instrument. No matter how skilled they might be, this approach creates nothing but discord and resistance. The wise musician instead tunes their instrument to match the orchestra, creating harmony through alignment rather than force. This is precisely how we must approach our relationship with universal abundance. The implications of this revelation are breathtaking. It means that your primary task isn't to work harder or strategize more cleverly. It's to tune your consciousness to the frequency of wealth itself. When you align your internal vibration with the natural rhythm of abundance, life begins to play in perfect harmony with your desires. Behind the scenes of manifestation, this tuning process is happening whether you're conscious of it or not. Your awareness simply allows you to participate intentionally rather than reactively. Think of those moments when synchronicities appeared in your life, when the perfect opportunity, connection, or resource showed up precisely when you needed it. Those weren't random coincidences, they were evidence of vibrational alignment. The catalyst for this resonance isn't effort, but awareness. The moment you recognize that you're not the pursuer but the permitter of wealth, something profound shifts in your energy field. The desperate chase transforms into a calm invitation. The anxious striving becomes peaceful allowing. And in that space of alignment, the universe has no choice but to mirror back to you the abundance that you've tuned yourself to receive. This represents a genuine paradigm revolution in how we approach prosperity. Instead of asking, "What must I do to get more?" we begin asking, "Who must I become to allow what's already mine?" This subtle but powerful reframing places you in the driver's seat of your financial destiny. Drop "I am in tune" in the comments if you're beginning to sense how this harmony principle might be the missing piece in your abundance equation. The bridge between your current financial reality and the prosperity you've always known was possible. As we explore this resonance further, I want to invite you to notice something incredibly subtle yet powerful happening in your own consciousness. There's a distinctive sound to your inner dialogue around money, a vibrational signature that broadcasts your true relationship with wealth far more accurately than your words ever could. Take a moment to listen beneath your thoughts. Is your inner money conversation hurried, anxious, and restless? Do you notice a subtle constriction in your chest when you think about your finances? That vibration, that tightening, that acceleration is the unmistakable sound of wanting. It's the frequency of separation, of believing that abundance exists somewhere out there, apart from you, requiring pursuit. Now contrast that with a completely different inner tone, slow, peaceful, and contentedly certain. There's an ease to this vibration, an expansiveness that feels like breathing deeply after holding your breath. This is the sound of having, the natural resonance of someone who knows at the core of their being that they are already wealth in expression. Here's the revelation that transforms everything. Life, always, without exception, amplifies whichever sound you hold consistently. It's not arbitrary or random, it's precise and mathematical. The outer world functions as an amplifier for your inner broadcast, magnifying your predominant frequency until it becomes the landscape of your physical experience. This principle explains why traditional manifestation techniques often yield inconsistent results. Many seekers dutifully visualize wealth while maintaining the anxious vibration of wanting, and then wonder why their visualizations don't materialize. It's not that visualization doesn't work, it's that visual images without matching emotional resonance lack the power to reshape reality. I remember working with someone who'd been diligently using traditional visualization techniques for months without seeing results. He would picture stacks of money, imagine his ideal bank balance, and affirm prosperity affirmations daily. Yet his financial situation remained unchanged, leading to increasing frustration and doubt. The breakthrough moment came when I suggested a completely different approach. Instead of focusing on visual images he didn't truly believe, I asked him to imagine the sound of his financial security, not what it would look like, but how it would feel to hear good news about his finances. Imagine the quiet sigh of relief when you check your accounts, I suggested. Feel the gentle laughter that comes naturally when you know you're secure. This shift from visual to auditory and kinesthetic imagination created an immediate change in his energy field. He later described it as finally finding the right frequency on the radio after static. Within weeks, his external circumstances began shifting, not through magical thinking, but through vibrational alignment with the frequency of having rather than wanting. This deeper dimension of manifestation reveals the blueprint behind so many success stories. The individuals who seem to effortlessly attract prosperity aren't necessarily working harder or knowing more. They've simply, often unconsciously, tuned themselves to the frequency of wealth. They live from the peaceful certainty of having rather than the anxious striving of wanting. The revolutionary insight here is that you don't need to change your external world first to experience this shift. You can access the vibration of having right now, in this moment, regardless of your current bank balance or financial circumstances. This isn't denial or pretending, it's recognizing that the feeling state of abundance precedes its physical manifestation. This precise attunement represents a quantum leap in consciousness, an awakening to your creative power that transcends conventional understanding. It's not about convincing yourself of something untrue, it's about recognizing a deeper truth that exists beneath surface appearances. You're learning to attune to the causal level of reality rather than remaining trapped in effects. The journey of consciousness transformation begins with this subtle shift from the restless melody of pursuit to the peaceful harmony of possession. It's a shift from the exhausting mindset of, when I have money, then I'll feel secure, to the liberating awareness of, I choose to feel secure now, and money naturally flows to match this vibration. Type I hear the difference in the comments if you've started to recognize the distinct vibrational signature of your own inner dialogue around money. And if you're beginning to sense the transformative potential of tuning to a new frequency. As we continue exploring this quantum approach to wealth consciousness, I want to share with you one of the most potent practices for calibrating your personal wealth frequency. This practice happens during a sacred window of opportunity that many overlook. Those precious moments just before sleep when your analytical mind begins to surrender and your subconscious becomes increasingly receptive. Most people use these final moments of wakefulness to review problems, make tomorrow's to-do lists, or worry about unresolved financial challenges. But what if instead you use this powerful threshold state to intentionally tune yourself to the frequency of abundance? This simple yet profound shift creates ripple effects throughout your entire manifestation journey. Here's the revolutionary practice. Instead of visualizing stacks of money or making elaborate plans before sleep, simply ask yourself this illuminating question. If I already had everything I needed, what would the silence within me sound like? Just sit with that inquiry for a moment and notice what emerges. What you'll discover is that authentic wealth has a distinctive vibrational signature, a feeling of profound peace, quiet gratitude, and effortless ease. This isn't an imagined state or wishful thinking, it's the natural resonance of your being when you're aligned with your true abundance. That feeling, that specific inner tone, is your personal wealth frequency. The revelation here transcends conventional manifestation techniques. You're not trying to convince yourself of something that isn't true. You're reconnecting with a dimension of yourself that already exists in completion. This is why the practice feels more like remembering than creating, because you're not manufacturing an experience, you're recognizing one that's been there all along. When you fall asleep bathed in this frequency, something remarkable happens in the quantum field of possibilities. Your subconscious, now marinated in the vibration of having rather than wanting, begins orchestrating synchronicities and opportunities that match this resonance. The transformation happens first within consciousness, then gradually materializes in your external experience. This insight leads us to perhaps the most liberating awakening on this journey. Money doesn't respond to your work. It responds to your worth, your inner recognition that I already am. This paradigm shift challenges everything we've been taught about the relationship between effort and reward. The breakthrough comes when you realize that wealth isn't something you earn through endless labor. It's something you allow through inner alignment. Think about that for a moment. How many people do you know who work incredibly hard yet remain financially stressed? And conversely, haven't you noticed others who seem to attract prosperity with remarkable ease? The difference isn't in hours invested, but in consciousness embodied. The first group is operating from the paradigm that money responds to work. The second has, often unconsciously, aligned with the truth that money responds to worth. This doesn't mean practical action becomes irrelevant. Rather, it means that action flowing from the state of having produces dramatically different results than action driven by the energy of lack. One creates expansion, the other perpetuates limitation. The journey continues each morning when you awaken. Most people's first thoughts center around problems to solve or resources to acquire. But those who've mastered the wealth frequency take a different approach. Upon waking, instead of immediately wondering where money will come from or what financial challenges await, they listen inwardly again for that quiet sound of completion, the peaceful certainty of I am wealth. They make this vibration their morning meditation, their background music for the day. This represents a profound identity revolution, shifting from someone who is pursuing wealth to someone who is expressing wealth. The difference might seem subtle intellectually, but energetically, it's the difference between swimming against the current and flowing with it. Your consciousness becomes the instrument through which abundance naturally expresses, rather than the mechanism that struggles to attain it. Share I am the frequency in the me comments if you're beginning to sense how this vibrational approach to wealth completely transforms the manifestation equation. And if you're ready to experiment with tuning yourself to this resonance before sleep tonight. As we explore the deeper dimensions of this wealth consciousness, we need to re-examine our fundamental understanding of faith itself. Most of us have been taught to think of faith as hope, a kind of wishful thinking directed towards some distant future. I hope this will happen someday if I'm deserving enough. But that conception of faith lacks the magnetic power to transform your reality. The enlightened perspective that Emmett Fox reveals is that authentic faith isn't hoping or pleading for something far away. It's the vibration of possession felt right now. This distinction completely revolutionizes how we approach manifestation. Faith isn't blind trust or naive optimism. It's the deliberate adjustment of your inner frequency until what was once unseen appears with the same inevitability as the sunrise. Think about how differently you move through the world when you genuinely know something versus when you merely hope for it. When you're hoping, there's tension, anxiety, and constant checking for evidence. But when you know, there's a quiet steadiness, a certainty that requires no external validation. This steadiness is the hallmark of true faith, the unwavering frequency that pulls your desires into physical form. I've witnessed remarkable transformations in people who've made this subtle but profound shift. One woman had been struggling for years with chronic financial instability, despite working multiple jobs. Her breakthrough came when she stopped trying to believe things would get better and instead began to embody the vibration of "it is already done." She described it as finally exhaling after holding my breath for decades. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities began appearing in her life, not because she was working harder, but because she had aligned herself with the frequency of completion. This illuminates a powerful truth about the mechanics of manifestation. Every assumption you hold transmits through the substance of consciousness like a radio signal. The key word here is assumption, not just your conscious thoughts or spoken affirmations, but the deep-seated beliefs that operate beneath your awareness. These assumptions create the energetic template that the physical world must eventually match. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that the outer world is merely a delayed reflection of your inner tone. It's not creating your reality. It's echoing what you've already created in consciousness. This explains why simply changing your thoughts often produces limited results. You're adjusting the surface while the deeper frequency remains unchanged. The spiritual alchemy happens when you realize you're not trying to attract something new. You're allowing the outer world to catch up with what you've already established within. This perspective completely reverses the manifestation equation. Instead of working hard to create a new reality, you're removing the resistance to what's already created in the unseen dimension. Think of it like this: the universe operates like a cosmic echo chamber. Whatever tone you hold consistently in your consciousness, whatever you accept as true at the deepest level of your being, the world must eventually reflect back to you with perfect precision. This isn't magical thinking, it's spiritual law operating with mathematical exactness. Behind the scenes of this process is the intimate relationship between consciousness and matter. Modern quantum physics has revealed what mystics have known for centuries: that physical reality isn't as solid or separate from consciousness as it appears. At the quantum level, particles respond to observation and expectation. Your consciousness is literally shaping the world you experience in ways that conventional thinking can't explain. The mastery comes when you learn to maintain the vibration of possession even when your senses report its absence. This isn't denial, it's recognizing which reality is primary. The enlightened know that sense perception is always reporting the past, what you previously accepted as true, while your current consciousness is creating the future that's rushing toward you. This represents a fundamental identity shift, moving from someone who is trying to create a better future to someone who is expressing the reality that already exists in the present moment of consciousness. You're not hoping for wealth, you're vibrating as wealth itself. Share "I am the creator" in the comments if you're beginning to recognize this profound truth, that your assumptions are literally the frequency that's shaping your financial universe. Let's explore how this understanding transforms the very foundation of manifestation. Let's explore how this understanding transforms the very foundation of manifestation. One of the most profound challenges on this journey emerges when your external circumstances appear to directly contradict your inner declarations. This is where most people abandon their practice, mistakenly believing that physical reality has more authority than consciousness. But the masters of manifestation understand something crucial. Faith is maintaining a steady vibration, even when appearances contradict it. This steadiness amid contradicting circumstances is the hallmark of true spiritual maturity. Think of it like tuning a radio to your favorite station. When you're perfectly aligned with the frequency, the music comes through with crystal clarity. But if the dial drifts even slightly, that same beautiful music fades into static. The broadcast didn't stop. The signal never disappeared. You simply moved out of alignment with it. This metaphor perfectly captures the mechanics of manifestation. The prosperity you're seeking is already broadcasting on its own frequency. It's not something that needs to be created, it's something that needs to be tuned into. When your consciousness drifts into doubt, worry, or fear, you've simply moved away from the wealth frequency that's continuously transmitting. The revolutionary insight here is that maintaining your vibrational alignment isn't about fighting against appearances or denying what your senses report. It's about recognizing which reality is primary, the inner or the outer. The illuminated understand that external circumstances are always the effect, never the cause. They're the shadow, not the substance. I recall working with a woman who experienced constant setbacks whenever she attempted to affirm greater prosperity. She would declare abundance, and her car would break down. She would visualize wealth, and an unexpected bill would arrive. Each setback reinforced her belief that manifestation simply didn't work for her. Her breakthrough came when I suggested changing just one thing: her definition of faith itself. Instead of trying to mentally believe something that seemed contradicted by her experience, I asked her to simply feel what she would feel if she already had what she desired. Don't try to convince yourself of anything, I told her. Just allow yourself to experience the peace of sufficiency. This subtle shift created an immediate transformation in her energy field. She stopped straining to believe and started allowing herself to feel. She described it as finally putting down a heavy weight I didn't realize I'd been carrying. Each night before sleep, she would simply feel the quiet satisfaction of having her needs met, the gentle contentment of enough. Within days, her external circumstances began to shift, not through magical thinking or wishful hoping, but through precise vibrational alignment. The revelation wasn't that she had somehow convinced the universe to give her what she wanted. It was that she had finally tuned herself to receive what was already being broadcast. This illuminates the hidden dimension of manifestation that most conventional approaches miss entirely. The journey isn't about forcing yourself to believe despite evidence to the contrary. It's about allowing yourself to feel despite appearances. It's recognizing that feeling is the language of creation, while mental belief is often just a form of spiritual struggle. The quantum leap in consciousness comes when you realize you don't need to manufacture faith through mental effort. You simply need to attune yourself to the feeling tone of what you desire as if it were already accomplished. This isn't pretending or denial. It's aligning with a deeper reality that exists beyond the temporary appearances your senses report. This perspective completely transforms how you navigate obstacles on your manifestation journey. When challenging circumstances arise, you no longer see them as evidence that your practice isn't working. You recognize them as the final echoes of an old frequency that's dissolving as your new vibration takes hold. Like the last snow melting as spring arrives, these appearances have no power except what your attention gives them. Drop "I choose peace over appearance" in the comments if you're beginning to grasp this profound distinction, that faith isn't struggling to believe despite evidence, but allowing yourself to feel complete, regardless of circumstances. As we delve into the practical application of these principles, I want to illuminate one of the most powerful catalysts for vibrational transformation: gratitude. But not gratitude as we've conventionally understood it, not merely saying thank you for what you already have. I'm talking about gratitude as faith expressed in action, the revolutionary practice of giving thanks for what you have not yet seen in physical form. This perspective completely transforms the manifestation equation. Most people believe they need to see it to believe it. The masters understand they need to believe it, or more accurately, feel it to see it. Gratitude becomes the bridge between these worlds, the alchemical practice that transforms the unseen into the seen. Think about what happens energetically when you genuinely give thanks for something before it physically appears. You're making a profound declaration to the universe. You're saying, "I trust so completely in the perfect unfolding of this desire that I'm thanking you now before my eyes can see it." This isn't wishful thinking. It's vibrational alignment in its purest form. Every time you express gratitude for what exists in consciousness but not yet in form, you're proving to yourself and to the universe that you already feel it as real. And the universe has no choice but to mirror that conviction. It's as though gratitude raises your vibrational signal the way sunlight naturally lifts a flower's face toward the sky. There's no effort involved, just natural alignment with a higher frequency. I've witnessed profound breakthroughs when people embrace this practice. One man had been struggling with a cycle of debt that seemed impossible to break. His transformation began when he started giving thanks each morning for the financial freedom he couldn't yet see. "Thank you for the peace of knowing all my needs are met. Thank you for the joy of living debt-free." He wasn't denying his current circumstances, he was transcending them by attuning to a higher reality. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing that had been invisible before, not because they weren't there, but because his consciousness hadn't been tuned to perceive them. A forgotten refund, an unexpected bonus, a business connection that led to a new income stream. The outer world was simply conforming to his new inner broadcast. Now, I want to go even deeper into this revelation by exploring a dimension of wealth that exists beyond the physical world entirely. There exists within you a treasury that no thief can touch, no market can crash, and no circumstance can deplete. The infinite bank of being, the limitless vault of imagination. This inner bank represents your true source of supply. Most people look to external sources for their wealth, a job, a client, investments, or inheritance. But these are merely channels, tributaries of the one great river that flows from your consciousness. The source is not out there, the source is you. Every emotional deposit you make into this inner bank lives there, waiting to be withdrawn into form. Each time you assume a feeling, whether of plenty or poverty, you're making a deposit into your subconscious account. Every inner conversation, every emotional state sustained, becomes a balance in this account, and the physical world is the faithful cashier that pays out exactly what you've stored up. If your internal vault is filled with fear, doubt, and scarcity, it must pay you in limitation. If it overflows with gratitude, faith, and abundance, it must deliver prosperity. The law cannot err, for the subconscious knows only to obey. It reflects with mathematical precision whatever you've impressed upon it. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that you cannot build abundance. You can only remember that you are abundance. The outer actions that follow are merely reflections of that inner remembrance. Every genuine transformation begins with this recognition. The wealth you seek isn't something to be pursued in the external world, but something to be awakened from within. This perspective completely reframes your relationship with money. You're no longer a beggar standing before the gates of abundance. You're the owner walking through your own estate. You're not waiting for supply, you're awakening to it. You're not earning wealth, you're remembering it. If you've ever experienced that moment of recognition, that flash of understanding that your true wealth exists within you rather than in external circumstances, type "I am the bank" in the comments below. As we continue to explore the true currency of creation, let's examine a profound revelation that completely transforms our approach to prosperity. Most people spend their entire lives trying to change their income without ever addressing the actual source of their financial reality, their inner emotional balance. They strategize, plan, hustle, and strive in the external world while leaving their internal economy completely unattended. This oversight explains why so many hard-working, intelligent people remain trapped in cycles of financial struggle despite their best efforts. What you perceive as luck or misfortune in your outer experience is simply the precise reflection of your inner spending, the emotional currency you carry, and circulate moment to moment throughout your day. Think about how you move through your financial life emotionally. Do you approach your bills with dread or gratitude? Do you check your accounts with anxiety or peace? Do you discuss money with tension or ease? These emotional patterns aren't just reactions to your financial circumstances. They're the very architects of those circumstances. The awakening happens when you realize that your emotional state isn't just responding to your financial reality, it's creating it. The universe operates as a perfect mirror, constantly reflecting back to you the precise vibrational currency you're spending internally. When you consistently spend worry, doubt, and fear, the universe has no choice but to give you experiences that match those investments. This revelation completely reverses conventional thinking. Most people believe their emotions are caused by their circumstances. When I have enough money, then I'll feel secure. The enlightened understand that circumstances are caused by emotions. When I consistently feel secure, then I'll have enough money. This paradigm shift puts you back in the driver's seat of your financial destiny. Your personal economy is quite literally backed by the emotional reserves of your consciousness. Each feeling you consistently maintain represents a specific currency with its own value in the universal exchange. Gratitude isn't just a pleasant sentiment, it's quite literally gold in your spiritual economy, the highest value currency you can possibly circulate. Fear, on the other hand, is sand, worthless in the cosmic marketplace, yet so many spend it lavishly throughout their day. Joy compounds interest, multiplying your emotional investments. Doubt creates debt, requiring future payments of more positive energy just to return to zero. Whatever you feel consistently, you are literally spending into form, investing it into the universal bank that must pay dividends in matching experiences. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people grasp this principle and begin consciously managing their emotional economy. One businessman who had been struggling for years despite working 80-hour weeks discovered that his constant undercurrent of anxiety was essentially bankrupting his manifestation account. His breakthrough came when he began intentionally investing in gratitude and peace, regardless of external circumstances. I started treating my emotions like actual currency, he told me. Before making any financial decision, I would check my emotional bank balance first. If I wasn't feeling abundant, I wouldn't take action until I'd made some internal deposits of gratitude and trust. Within months, His external circumstances began shifting dramatically, not because he was working harder, but because he had fundamentally changed the currency he was spending into the universe. This represents a complete reversal in how we approach manifestation. Instead of focusing primarily on changing your actions, focus first on changing your emotional investments. Before you make your next financial decision, before you have your next money conversation, before you pay your next bill, check your emotional balance. Are you about to spend from an account of gratitude and trust, or are you withdrawing from depleted reserves of worry and doubt? The secret to sustainable abundance lies in consistently circulating high-value emotional currency. Start making conscious deposits of gratitude, joy, and peace into your internal treasury, especially when external circumstances seem to justify the opposite. This isn't denial, it's spiritual alchemy, transforming the base metals of circumstance into the gold of new experience. Type, "I'm watching my emotional spending" in the comments if you're beginning to recognize how your emotional investments have been creating your financial reality, and if you're ready to become more conscious about the currency you're circulating in, your internal economy, as we continue uncovering the hidden mechanics of true wealth creation. As we continue uncovering the hidden mechanics of true wealth creation, I want to introduce you to a concept that explains one of the most perplexing mysteries in the financial universe. Have you ever wondered why some people seem to magnetize prosperity effortlessly while others toil endlessly with minimal results? The conventional wisdom attributes this difference to skill, education, connections, or luck. But Emmett Fox reveals a profound truth. The difference lies primarily in emotional wealth, not external factors. Life operates according to a precise emotional exchange rate, consistently mirroring your habitual vibration back to you in the form of circumstances. This isn't a poetic metaphor, it's a spiritual law operating with mathematical precision. Just as different currencies have different values in the global marketplace, different emotional states carry different manifestation. Power in the universal economy. Think about the people you know who seem naturally prosperous. Notice how they move through the world, not just their actions, but their emotional atmosphere. The truly abundant live in a continuous hum of ease and certainty. They don't chase opportunities, they attract them. They don't fight circumstances, they flow with them. This isn't coincidence, it's causation. Their emotional signature is broadcasting on a frequency that the universe values highly. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that your emotional exchange rate isn't fixed. It can be deliberately raised through conscious awareness and practice. Think of someone whose currency is chronically devalued. They work harder than everyone else, yet receive less in return. Their fundamental issue isn't in their strategies, but in their vibrational offering. They're trying to manifest with emotional currency that carries little value in the spiritual marketplace. I've witnessed profound breakthroughs when people grasp this principle and begin intentionally elevating their emotional exchange rate. One entrepreneur had been struggling for years despite implementing every strategy the experts recommended. Her transformation began when she realized her chronic anxiety was essentially devaluing every action she took. "I could feel the difference immediately," she told me. "When I stopped approaching my business from fear and started operating from peaceful certainty, opportunities that had been invisible suddenly appeared everywhere." Now, I want to reveal the mechanism behind this transformation. If your feelings are your currency, then your attention is your mint, the sacred place where that currency is created. Whatever you focus on consistently, you print more of. It's that simple and that profound. Your attention is literally manufacturing your emotional currency moment by moment throughout your day. This insight illuminates why monitoring your focus becomes the most crucial financial decision you make. When you habitually focus on what's lacking what's wrong, or what might go wrong, you're flooding your internal economy with counterfeit bills, emotional currency that has no value in the manifestation marketplace. But when you consistently direct your attention toward what's working, what's abundant, and what's peaceful, you're printing gold standard currency that commands the highest value in the universal exchange. Each coin of this high-value currency is stamped with the divine seal of I Am, the recognition of your oneness with the infinite source of all supply. This isn't inflated currency based on nothing. It's backed by the ultimate reality of your spiritual identity. When you spend this currency, when you move through your day from this elevated emotional state, the world has no choice but to match its value with corresponding experiences. The journey of consciousness requires honesty about your current emotional economy. What currency are you primarily circulating? Are you spending hours each day minting worry, doubt, and scarcity? Or are you investing your precious attention in creating the gold standard emotions of gratitude, peace, and certainty? This isn't about denying challenges. It's about recognizing which focus actually empowers you to transform them. The decision about where to place your attention represents the most fundamental choice in the manifestation process. Before you take your next action, before you make your next plan, before you speak your next word about money, check which currency you're about to spend. Are you offering the universe copper or gold? Are you paying with the devalued currency of anxiety or the premium currency of faith? If you recognize that you've been unconsciously devaluing your own emotional exchange rate by focusing on limitation rather than abundance, type "I'm raising my rate" in the comments. As we examine how imagination serves as the divine mint, where all wealth is first created. As we examine how imagination serves as the divine mint, where all wealth is first created, we arrive at perhaps the most transformative revelation in this entire journey. If feeling is the currency of heaven, then imagination is its mint, the sacred workshop where invisible wealth takes shape before appearing in the physical world. This isn't metaphorical language. It's a precise description of how creation actually operates on both the spiritual and material planes. Within this divine mint, every thought that you clothe with genuine feeling is impressed upon the very substance of the universe, like gold pressed into a coin. The impression becomes the template that physical reality must eventually match. This illuminates why merely thinking about prosperity produces limited results, while feeling yourself as prosperous creates remarkable transformations. Think about the creative process behind everything you see around you. The chair you're sitting in, the device you're watching this on, the building you're in. All of these were first imaginary before they became physical. Someone first conceived them in consciousness before they materialized in form. This reveals a universal principle that governs all creation. The unseen always precedes the seen. Every manifestation, every miracle, every transformation in your life follows this exact same pattern. Nothing appears in your physical experience that wasn't first conceived and felt in consciousness. This revelation completely reverses conventional thinking about cause and effect. Most people believe physical reality is primary, and their thoughts and feelings are merely responses to that reality. The enlightened understand that consciousness is primary and physical reality is the response. The breakthrough in your manifestation journey comes when you recognize that imagination isn't daydreaming or wishful thinking. It's the act of creation itself. When you imagine, you're not escaping reality. You're molding the substance from which reality is formed. You are God's image maker, and every image you hold and feel as real becomes the blueprint for your future experience. The crucial insight that most manifestation teachings miss is that thoughts alone aren't enough. They're like sketches on sand, easily erased by the next tide of doubt. But when you add feeling, when you breathe life into the image by emotionally experiencing it as already real, It becomes fixed in the substance of reality. The world must then echo it in form, not as a favor, but as a mathematical inevitability. I remember working with a young entrepreneur who had an inspired business idea but lacked the funds to launch it. Traditional approaches had failed him. Every door he knocked on remained closed. His revelation came when I suggested he stop knocking on external doors and instead enter the inner sanctuary of imagination. Sit quietly tonight, I told him, and imagine your business already thriving. Don't just see it, feel it. Feel the satisfaction of customers, the pride of completed work, the joy of success, as if it were happening now. He followed this guidance, not as a visualization exercise, but as a genuine act of creation. Within weeks, synchronicities began appearing. An unexpected offer of space, supplies at cost, customers who seemed drawn by an invisible magnet. I didn't build that business, he later told me. I remembered it. This profound statement captures the essence of creation. It's not making something new, but recognizing what already exists in the invisible realm. When you truly understand this principle, you stop trying to figure out how money will come to you and instead focus on imprinting the feeling of already having it. The divine mint operates with perfect precision, but it requires your conscious participation. You choose the images to impress, you provide the feeling that gives them life, and you maintain the faith that allows them to materialize. This isn't wishful thinking, it's working with spiritual law. The journey of mastery involves learning to use this creative power deliberately rather than unconsciously. Most people are creating by default, impressing images of lack, limitation, and worry into the universal substance, then wondering why those experiences keep appearing. The awakened creator consciously selects the images they will energize with feeling, knowing that whatever they impress must eventually express. If you're beginning to recognize the tremendous creative power of your imagination, not as fantasy, but as the divine mint that stamps your consciousness into physical form, type "I am the creator" in the comments. As we explore how to seal these impressions with the feeling that brings them to life, As we explore how to seal these impressions with the feeling that brings them to life, we arrive at a crucial understanding that separates successful manifestation from wishful thinking. Without genuine feeling, imagination cannot create lasting change in your outer experience. Many seekers learn this lesson the hard way, dutifully visualizing prosperity while emotionally remaining disconnected from their images, then wondering why physical reality doesn't transform. The revelation that changes everything is recognizing that feeling is the master craftsman that shapes reality. The mind alone is merely a draftsman, capable of drawing blueprints but unable to build the actual structure. It's when you add the dimension of feeling, when you let your entire body participate in the dream, that the universal substance begins to take the shape of your vision. This isn't abstract theory, it's practical spiritual technology. When you engage in conscious creation, don't just see what you desire, feel its weight, texture, and sound. If you're imagining financial abundance, feel the deep peace that comes with knowing all your needs are met. Feel the gentle expansion in your chest that accompanies true security. Feel the relaxed shoulders and calm breathing that naturally express when you're free from financial worry. I've noticed a profound difference in manifestation results when people shift from mental visualization to full body feeling. One woman had been diligently visualizing her ideal career for months with minimal results. Her breakthrough came when she stopped trying to picture specific outcomes and instead devoted herself to feeling the emotional essence of what she desired. The confidence, purpose, and joy that her ideal work would bring. It was like switching from black and white to color, she told me. When I started feeling the reality of my vision rather than just thinking about it, everything changed. Within weeks, Opportunities appeared that had been invisible before, not because they weren't there, but because her consciousness hadn't been calibrated to perceive them. This illuminates a hidden dimension of the creative process that most manifestation teachings overlook. The feeling state isn't just an accessory to the vision, it's the very substance from which the vision is formed. When you embody the emotional reality of your desire before its physical appearance, you're not just predicting the future, you're creating it from the inside out. Now, I want to share a perspective that completely transforms how we understand the creative process itself. What we call creation isn't actually making something new, but remembering what is eternally present in the infinite field of imagination. This isn't poetic language. It's a precise description of how consciousness interacts with potential. Imagination isn't just a mental faculty, it's the womb of all possibilities, the infinite reservoir from which all form emerges. When you enter this realm consciously and select a state to embody, you're not fabricating something from nothing. You're recognizing and activating a pattern that already exists in potential form. This explains why genuine creation feels more like discovery than invention. The entrepreneur doesn't really invent the business. The artist doesn't really make the painting. The wealthy person doesn't really create prosperity. Each is remembering and activating a reality that was always available in the field of infinite potential. The pathway of manifestation shifts dramatically when you embrace this truth. You're no longer trying to force something new into existence through strain and effort. You're simply remembering what already is, awakening to a dimension of yourself that has always existed in completion. When you feel your imagined state as real, when you emotionally inhabit it with conviction, something remarkable happens. The invisible begins to harden into fact. Just as water crystallizes into ice when the temperature drops, your consciousness crystallizes into physical form when your feeling reaches the right intensity and consistency. This represents a quantum leap in how we approach prosperity. You're not working to deserve abundance or struggling to attain it. You're remembering your natural state of fullness and allowing the outer world to align with that inner knowing. The shift is from "when will I have enough" to "I am enough," and my external reality is simply catching up with this truth. Drop "I am remembering wealth" in the comments. If you're beginning to recognize that the prosperity you seek isn't something distant to be attained through endless effort, but something already complete in consciousness waiting for your recognition, as we explore the sacred gateway between consciousness and form. As we explore the sacred gateway between consciousness and form, I want to reveal one of the most overlooked yet powerful portals for manifestation that exists in your daily experience. There comes a sacred hour in every 24-hour cycle, a time when the world softens and the veil between the seen and unseen realms grows remarkably thin. I'm talking about those precious moments just before you drift into sleep. This twilight state of consciousness represents the most potent creative window in your entire day. It's literally the doorway between worlds, the passage from the visible to the invisible, from the conscious to the subconscious realms. What many fail to recognize is that what you carry across this threshold, the thoughts, feelings, and assumptions you take with you into sleep, directly determines what you'll awaken to tomorrow. The ancients understood this profound truth. They called this state the hypnagogic threshold, the liminal space where the analytical mind surrenders its guard and the subconscious becomes extraordinarily receptive. In this twilight realm, your imagination speaks directly to the creative forces of the universe without the interference of doubt or logic. Yet most people squander this golden opportunity night after night. They review problems, replay worries, rehearse fears, and then wonder why those very experiences keep manifesting in their lives. They use this sacred creative portal to impress more of what they don't want onto the malleable substance of consciousness. The revelation that transforms everything is recognizing that this moment before sleep isn't merely for rest, it's for conscious creation. When you approach sleep with reverence, understanding that you're entering the temple of manifestation, you begin using this gateway deliberately rather than unconsciously. Instead of carrying your day's struggles across this threshold, enter with only the feeling of fulfillment, the quiet certainty of it is done, the peaceful knowing that all is well. This isn't denial of current circumstances, it's transcendence of them. You're choosing which reality you'll allow your subconscious to work with throughout the night. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people embrace this practice. One woman who had struggled with chronic financial stress for years began devoting those final moments before sleep to feeling the peace of abundance, not visualizing specific amounts or outcomes, but simply allowing herself to feel financially whole, complete, and secure as she drifted off. Within weeks, unexpected opportunities began appearing in her life, not through magical thinking, but through precise vibrational alignment. Now, I want to share a perspective that completely transforms how we understand the role of rest in the creative process. Most people think of rest as merely the end of activity, the cessation of work, the recovery period after creation. But Emmett Fox reveals a profound truth. Rest is not the end of creation, it's evidence of its completion. Think about the creation story itself. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And there was evening and there was morning the sixth day. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested. This isn't just poetic language, it's a blueprint for the manifestation in process. The rest doesn't come because the work is tiring, it comes because the work is finished. This completely reframes our approach to manifestation. The ability to truly rest, to release all striving and enter genuine peace, becomes not just a physical necessity, but a spiritual declaration. It's your acknowledgement that the creative work is complete in consciousness, even before its appearance in form. The last emotion you feel before sleep is literally the seed of tomorrow's experience. Your subconscious takes that feeling as instruction and works throughout the night to create corresponding experiences. If you sleep in fear, it builds fear. If you sleep in gratitude, it builds grace. This isn't metaphorical, it's the precise mechanism through which consciousness shapes reality. When you truly understand this principle, you begin guarding those final moments before sleep, as a gardener protects their most fertile soil. You become selective about what you plant there, knowing that the night hours will water and nourish whatever seed you've sown. If you recognize that you've been unconsciously planting seeds of worry and limitation in this sacred garden, type, "I'm changing my bedtime ritual," in the comments. As we examine how the subconscious mind processes these impressions during sleep, I want to share a powerful metaphor that completely transforms how you understand the relationship between your conscious and subconscious mind. Think of your entire consciousness as a vast garden. The waking day is when you actively sow seeds through your thoughts, words, assumptions, and emotional states. But the crucial revelation is understanding what happens when your conscious mind surrenders to sleep. Night is when this garden is watered, when the seeds you've planted throughout the day receive the nourishment they need to grow into experience. The subconscious never sleeps, never rests, never takes a vacation. While your conscious mind regenerates through sleep, your subconscious works tirelessly, continually germinating what you've planted, transforming seed into sprout, into full manifestation. This illuminates why what seems like overnight success is rarely actually overnight. Behind every sudden manifestation lies countless nights of subconscious germination, with your inner gardener faithfully tending what you've planted until it breaks through the soil of physical experience. The harvest you're reaping today was planted in your subconscious garden days, weeks, or even months ago. The revelation that transforms your manifestation journey is recognizing that you get to choose which seeds take root in this fertile soil. Most people unconsciously scatter seeds of worry, doubt, and limitation throughout their day, then wonder why those experiences keep sprouting in their reality. The awakened creator becomes intentional about which seeds they plant, carefully selecting thoughts of abundance, peace, and possibility, knowing the subconscious will nurture whatever is given to it. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people embrace this principle. One business owner who had struggled with erratic income for years began devoting those final moments before sleep to feeling the security of consistent prosperity. Not visualizing specific numbers, but simply allowing himself to feel the peace of knowing his financial needs were met with ease. He described it as finally trusting the garden instead of digging up the seeds every day to check if they're growing. Within months, his business stabilized in ways that had eluded him for years. Now I want to share a profound insight that completely reframes how we understand our relationship with universal forces. When you sleep feeling abundant, when you drift into rest carrying the peaceful certainty of wealth, you align yourself with the natural rhythm of the entire universe. This isn't poetic language. It's a precise description of cosmic harmony. Look at how creation moves throughout the cosmos. The planets don't strain to spin in their orbits. The stars don't labor to shine. The seasons don't struggle to change. All of creation moves with effortless grace because its foundation is unwavering faith in the perfect unfolding of divine order. This revelation illuminates why striving, struggling, and stressing about manifestation actually creates resistance to the very prosperity you're seeking. The universe operates through perfect rest, not the collapse of exhaustion, but the peaceful certainty of knowing. When you enter sleep in this same state of quiet trust, you become one with that eternal motion, and all things move to support you. The quantum leap in consciousness comes when you recognize that rest isn't merely recovery, it's alignment with the fundamental nature of creation itself. You're not just sleeping, you're joining the cosmic dance in its natural rhythm. This perspective completely transforms your approach to manifestation. You stop forcing, pushing, and demanding. You start allowing, accepting, and knowing. Think about how differently you approach sleep when you understand this principle. Instead of collapsing into bed exhausted from a day of struggle, carrying worries about tomorrow, you enter sleep as a conscious creator, joining the universal current of manifestation. You lie down not to escape your reality, but to participate in reshaping it through alignment with cosmic forces. This alignment has a distinctive feeling signature, a peaceful certainty that needs no proof, a quiet knowing that requires no confirmation. When you carry this feeling into sleep, you're not just resting your body, you're calibrating your entire being to the frequency of effortless creation. You're declaring to the universe, I trust the perfect unfolding of abundance in my life, just as I trust the sun to rise tomorrow. Behind the scenes of manifestation, this alignment is what transforms struggling creators into magnetic attractors. It's not about perfecting your vision board or refining your affirmations. It's about matching your consciousness to the effortless rhythm of universal abundance through complete rest in knowing. Type, I sleep in abundance in the comments if you're beginning to recognize the profound creative potential of those final moments before sleep. And if you're ready to enter that sacred state tonight, carrying only the peaceful certainty of wealth consciousness, as we explore how your words become the scepter that shapes your kingdom. As we explore how your words become the scepter that shapes your kingdom, I want to reveal a profound truth about language that most people completely overlook. Your words are not merely empty vibrations that vanish into the air after you speak them. They are living seeds cast into the fertile soil of your subconscious mind. Every word spoken with feeling, particularly those words that follow the mighty I am, takes root in this garden of consciousness and eventually grows into the fruit of your external world. This revelation transforms everything about how you use language. Most people speak carelessly, scattering their creative power in idle chatter, unconsciously programming their reality through habitual phrases. They don't realize that each time they say, "I am tired, I am broke," or "I am struggling," they've just issued a creative command to the universe, an order that must be fulfilled with mathematical precision. You are never punished for your words. You are simply surrounded by their echo. The universe doesn't judge your declarations as good or bad, positive or negative. It simply accepts them as instructions and proceeds to create corresponding experiences. This illuminates why becoming conscious of your speech patterns represents one of the most transformative shifts on your journey to prosperity. I've witnessed remarkable breakthroughs when people grasp this principle and begin monitoring their verbal broadcasts. One woman who had struggled financially for years realized she had unconsciously filled her speech with phrases like, "I can't afford it," "That's too expensive for me," and "Money is always tight." Her revelation came when she understood these weren't descriptions of her reality. They were the very architects of that reality. Now, I want to share a perspective that completely revolutionizes how we understand the purpose of language itself. The wise have always understood that language isn't given to us for describing reality, it's given for designing it. This subtle but profound distinction separates those who remain victims of circumstance from those who become conscious creators of their experience. The careless man speaks of lack and calls it honesty. He describes his misfortune and calls it realism. He recounts his struggles and calls it being authentic, never realizing that he has fundamentally misunderstood the purpose of speech, mistaking confession for creation. He believes he's merely reporting what is, when in fact he's declaring what shall be. The enlightened speaker, by contrast, understands that the tongue is the rudder of imagination. Every sentence steers the ship of your life toward or away from the shore of your desires. They recognize that language isn't for describing what's visible, but for declaring what shall be. They speak deliberately, choosing words that align with where they're going, not where they've been. This revolutionary insight explains why simply changing your language patterns creates such profound shifts in your manifestation journey. Every time you say, "I can't afford it," life takes you at your word. Every time you declare, "This always happens to me," the universe, being utterly obedient, responds, "As you wish." You are literally the author of your own limitation through the pen of your tongue. The journey of transformation begins with this simple but powerful decision: to change your vocabulary, not just in public speech, but in the private conversation that runs beneath every moment. That ceaseless inner dialogue that shapes the contours of your existence. Behind the scenes of this linguistic alchemy is a profound metaphysical principle. Your words aren't merely describing a static reality, they're participating in a dynamic creation. When you declare, "I am wealthy," even when appearances suggest otherwise, you're not lying to yourself or denying reality. You're speaking to a deeper level of truth, calling forth what exists in potential but hasn't yet manifested in form. This represents a complete identity shift, moving from someone who reports on circumstances to someone who commands them. It's the difference between being a passive narrator of your life story and becoming its active author. Your words become the bridge between the unseen reality you desire and the visible world you experience. Share. My words create my world in the comments if you're beginning to recognize the tremendous creative power in your everyday speech, and if you're ready to wield the scepter of your tongue with greater consciousness. As we examine the revolutionary practice of speaking as God speaks, we arrive at perhaps the most profound shift in how we use language as a creative force. To truly harness the manifestation power of your words, you must learn to speak not from the edge of hoping, but from the center of knowing. This represents a complete transformation in your relationship with language itself. Consider the fundamental difference between asking and commanding. When you ask, you're positioning yourself as separate from what you desire, as the seeker rather than the source. But when you command from the center of knowing, you're speaking as one who recognizes their oneness with the creative principle itself. This isn't arrogance, it's alignment with your true spiritual identity. This revelation illuminates why so many affirmations and declarations produce limited results. The words may be positive, but they're spoken from the frequency of separation rather than union. It's not the phrases themselves that create, it's the consciousness behind them. When you speak as God speaks, not to request, but to command, you're activating the same creative principle that said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Notice the remarkable difference in how masters of manifestation use language. The beggar shouts, desperately trying to be heard by some distant power. The creator whispers, knowing that the power lives within and needs no amplification. This quiet certainty carries infinitely more creative force than loud desperation. The volume of your words matters far less than the depth from which they emerge. I've witnessed profound breakthroughs when people make this subtle but revolutionary shift in how they speak. One executive who had struggled for years with cyclical financial challenges discovered that all his positive affirmations were being spoken as requests rather than declarations. His transformation began when he stopped asking the universe for prosperity and started speaking from the quiet certainty of already being its embodiment. The journey toward this mastery begins with recognizing the tremendous power in what Emmett Fox calls the October Decree, the simple but profound declaration, "I am wealth." This isn't merely a positive affirmation or a hopeful statement about some future state. It's a direct assertion of your divine identity, a recognition of who and what you truly are beneath the temporary appearances. The revelation that transforms everything is understanding that this decree isn't something you force or strain to believe. You speak it not with effort, but with surrender, like a whisper returning to its origin. This paradox contains the hidden key to manifestation. You're not trying to convince yourself of something untrue. You're allowing yourself to recognize what has always been true beneath the illusion of separation. The power of this decree lies not in the words themselves, but in the feeling resonance behind them. When you declare "I am wealth" from the mental level alone, it creates minimal impact. But when you speak it from the depth of your being, when you allow the words to emerge from that quiet center where you and the infinite are one, they carry the full creative force of the universe itself. Think of it like this. When you speak from separation, you're like someone standing outside a cathedral, shouting to be heard by those within. When you speak from the center of knowing, you're like someone standing at the altar, whispering into the sacred silence. Which voice do you think carries more transformative power? This insight completely reframes how you approach the language of creation. Instead of repeating affirmations mechanically, hoping they'll eventually convince your subconscious, you enter the silence first. You find that center of quiet knowing within yourself, that place where you already feel complete, and then allow the words to emerge naturally from that state. I remember working with someone who had been dutifully repeating prosperity affirmations for months without seeing results. His revelation came when I suggested a complete reversal of his approach. Instead of trying to convince yourself of abundance through repetition, I told him, first find the feeling of abundance within yourself and then let the words arise naturally from that state. The shift was immediate and palpable. His declarations were no longer mechanical repetitions, but authentic expressions of a truth he had remembered. When you speak the decree, "I am wealth," from this place of remembrance rather than effort, something remarkable happens. The words become not just sounds, but vibrations that reorganize the very fabric of your reality. You're not hoping to become wealthy. You're recognizing that you already are wealth itself in expression. Share "I speak from knowing" in the comments if you're beginning to sense this profound distinction between speaking as a seeker and declaring as a creator, and if you're ready to experiment with allowing your words to emerge from that quiet center where you and the infinite are one. As we explore the power of speaking once with authority, I want to challenge one of the most prevalent misconceptions in manifestation practice, the belief that repetition creates power. Many teachings suggest that the more you repeat an affirmation, the more likely it is to manifest. But Emmett Fox reveals a profound truth that completely transforms this understanding. One command spoken in faith is enough. This isn't spiritual minimalism. It's a recognition of the true nature of creative power. Think about the difference between someone who desperately repeats the same request over and over, hoping to be heard, versus someone who speaks once with the quiet certainty that their word is law. The first approach betrays an underlying doubt, a fear that the universe hasn't heard or won't respond. The repetition itself becomes evidence of disbelief, but to speak once with authority is to seal your command forever in the substance of creation. This revelation illuminates why so many affirmation practices yield limited results. The law doesn't respond to repetition, it responds to realization. When you genuinely know something to be true, you don't need to convince yourself through endless repetition. You simply state it once and rest in the certainty of its fulfillment. I remember working with a woman who had been repeating prosperity affirmations dozens of times daily for months without seeing results. Her breakthrough came when I suggested a complete reversal of her approach. Instead of saying it 50 times with doubt, I told her, say it once with complete conviction and then release it. The shift was immediate and palpable. She described it as finally exhaling after holding my breath for years. Within weeks, opportunities began appearing that had been invisible before. Now, I want to reveal perhaps the most overlooked aspect of the manifestation process, the sacred silence that follows your decree. After speaking your command with authority, there must come a holy pause, a cessation not of power, but of effort. This silence isn't empty space or mere absence of sound. It's the fertile void where creation itself takes root. Think of it like planting a seed. The actual planting takes just a moment, but then comes the essential period of darkness and silence where the seed does its hidden work. If you were to continuously dig up the soil to check on progress or replant the same seed over and over, you'd interfere with the natural process of growth. The same principle applies to your spoken decree. Once planted in consciousness, it needs the sacred space of silence to germinate. When you speak your decree, "I am wealth," and then allow silence to carry the echo deeper than the words themselves, you're participating in the cosmic rhythm of creation. You're mirroring the same pattern we see in the creation story. Let there be light, followed by divine rest. This silence isn't passive waiting, it's active faith, the powerful knowing that what has been spoken must, by universal law, come to pass. Feel the quality of this silence when you next speak your decree. Notice how it feels as if the universe itself has leaned in to listen. There's a weightiness to this silence, a pregnant fullness that contains all possibility. This is the Sabbath of manifestation, not the absence of activity, but the presence of completion. Behind the scenes of manifestation, this silence is where the real transformation occurs. While your conscious mind has released the decree, your subconscious continues to work with it, reshaping neural pathways, reorganizing perception, and creating the inner conditions that will eventually externalize as experience. Your job is not to oversee this process through constant affirmation, but to honor it through faithful rest. The spiritual alchemy happens when you learn to value the silence as much as the declaration, to recognize that both are essential aspects of creation. The word initiates, the silence gestates. Both are equally sacred, equally necessary. Most seekers focus entirely on perfecting their declarations while completely overlooking the transformative power of the silence that follows. This insight completely transforms your manifestation practice. Instead of filling every moment with affirmations, visualizations, and constant mental effort, you learn the art of speaking with authority and then resting in powerful silence. You declare, "I am wealth," once, not as a hopeful plea, but as a statement of what already is. And then you enter the sacred stillness where that truth crystallizes into form. Type "I honor the silence" in the comments if you're beginning to recognize the tremendous creative power in that quiet space after your declaration, that holy pause where the universe receives and begins fulfilling your command. As we explore the signs and confirmations that appear as your new frequency begins to manifest. As we explore the signs and confirmations that appear as your new frequency begins to manifest, I want to share something beautiful that begins to unfold when you've genuinely shifted your consciousness. As you consistently live in wealth consciousness, as you maintain that inner tone of abundance regardless of external appearances, signs begin to appear in your physical experience. These might initially seem like coincidences, unexpected favors, or surprising kindness from others, but they're far from random occurrences. These synchronicities are actually reflections of your transformed inner state, footprints of your assumption appearing in the sand of experience. They're the first evidence that the inner shift you've created is beginning to reorganize your outer reality in perfect alignment with your new vibration. The world, once seemingly resistant to your desires, begins to whisper back to you in the language of manifestation. I recall working with someone who had maintained a new wealth frequency for just 2 weeks when the signs began appearing. First, a small unexpected refund arrived. Then, a forgotten debt was repaid, without her asking. Later, an opportunity emerged that perfectly matched her skills. These weren't the full manifestation of her desires, but they were confirmation that her inner transformation was rippling outward into visible form. The revelation that transforms your manifestation journey is recognizing that these signs aren't rewards for your practice. They're responses to it. They aren't tests to see if the law works. They're natural evidence that it always has been working with mathematical precision. Every so-called coincidence is actually the materialization of a spiritual cause that you've set in motion through your shifted consciousness. When you notice these early signs, the key is to receive them with quiet gratitude rather than desperate excitement. Say within yourself, "This is the shadow of greater things to come," and then release it, knowing that the law will continue its perfect unfolding. Each sign acknowledged with thankfulness multiplies, while each sign greeted with "this isn't enough" tends to diminish the flow. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by exploring a fundamental truth about the nature of wealth itself. Most people have misunderstood abundance at its core. They've approached it as something to be captured, contained, or hoarded, something to hold tightly and protect. But Emmett Fox reveals a profound insight that completely transforms our relationship with prosperity. Abundance was never meant to be possessed, but to circulate. Look at how wealth operates throughout the natural world. The river doesn't hoard its water, it freely gives to the ocean. The sun doesn't ration its light, it radiates without concern for depletion. The tree doesn't clutch its fruit, it releases it freely for the nourishment of all. These aren't poetic metaphors, they're precise blueprints for how prosperity operates on every level of existence. The journey of consciousness transformation begins when you recognize that your true nature mirrors these universal principles. You are not a reservoir designed to accumulate and store. You are a channel through which divine abundance flows. The moment you grasp this revelation, your entire relationship with money undergoes a radical shift. I've witnessed remarkable transformations when people embrace this principle. One businessman who had spent years anxiously accumulating wealth while living in constant fear of loss discovered the liberating truth that abundance thrives through circulation. He began approaching his finances from a completely different mindset, not asking, "How can I get more?" but "How can I circulate what I have with greater joy and intention?" As he released his death grip on resources and began allowing them to flow more freely, giving generously, investing in opportunities that aligned with his values, spending from abundance rather than scarcity, something remarkable happened. His financial situation didn't contract as his fear had predicted. It expanded. Dramatically, what he released in love returned multiplied, not as cosmic reward, but as natural law. This isn't spiritual theory. It's the practical mechanics of manifestation. Just as your physical breath must be both inhaled and exhaled to sustain life, the breath of prosperity must flow both ways. The exhale of giving is as essential as the inhale of receiving. When you constrict either, the entire system becomes stagnant. The paradigm revolution happens when you stop seeing yourself as someone who needs to accumulate wealth and start recognizing yourself as someone through whom wealth naturally circulates. You become the conscious director of this flow, rather than its anxious hoarder. This doesn't mean being financially irresponsible. It means releasing the energetic constriction that actually blocks greater abundance from reaching you. Share "I am the flow" in the comments if you're beginning to sense this profound truth, that wealth isn't something you possess, but something you participate in through conscious circulation. As we explore the profound transformation that occurs when giving and receiving become one unified movement. As we explore the profound transformation that occurs when giving and receiving become one unified movement, I want to challenge one of the most persistent misconceptions about wealth creation. Most people believe that generosity is the privilege of the wealthy, that once you've accumulated enough, then you can afford to be generous. But Emmett Fox reveals a revolutionary truth that completely inverts this understanding. Giving isn't the privilege of the wealthy, it's the actual cause of wealth itself. This revelation transforms everything about how we approach prosperity. The conventional paradigm tells us to accumulate first and give later, to secure our own abundance before extending to others. But the spiritual economics revealed through Emmett Fox's teachings shows us that this approach fundamentally misunderstands the mechanics of manifestation. Think about what happens energetically when you give from a place of fullness rather than fear. Even if your external circumstances appear limited, when you give joyfully and freely, you're making a profound declaration to the universe. You're saying, "My supply is infinite. I have so much that I can give freely without concern for depletion." This isn't wishful thinking. It's vibrational alignment with the truth of abundance. The poorest person who blesses what they have, who gives from whatever they possess with joy rather than resentment, activates the law of increase. They're aligning themselves with the natural flow of prosperity rather than constricting it through fear of lack. This isn't spiritual manipulation or cosmic bribery. It's working in harmony with how energy actually moves throughout creation. I remember working with someone who was in significant financial debt, yet felt called to adopt a practice of conscious giving. Against conventional wisdom, he began setting aside a small portion of every dollar that came to him, not as obligation, but as celebration. "I give because I already have," he told me, "not because I hope to get." This subtle but profound shift in consciousness created an immediate change in his energetic relationship with prosperity. Within months, opportunities appeared that had been invisible before, and his financial situation transformed not through magical windfall, but through aligned consciousness. Now, I want to reveal the culmination of this entire wealth journey, the final decree that seals your creation in the silence of faith. After you've aligned your consciousness with abundance, after you've claimed your divine identity as wealth itself, after you've learned to give from fullness rather than lack, there comes a sacred moment of completion. This moment is marked by the eternal affirmation, "It is finished." Notice the profound power in these simple words. Not "it will be finished," or "it might be finished," but "it is finished." This declaration isn't describing a future hope, but recognizing a present completion. It's acknowledging that in consciousness, the causal realm where all manifestation begins, the work is already done. When you speak these words from the depth of knowing, rather than the surface of hoping, something remarkable happens in your energetic field. All effort dissolves, all anxious waiting ceases, all sense of separation from your good disappears. What remains is the sacred rest that naturally follows true knowing, not the collapse of exhaustion, but the peaceful certainty of completion. This final decree represents the ultimate identity shift in your manifestation journey. You're no longer striving to become wealthy. You're resting as wealth itself. You're not working toward abundance. You're acknowledging its presence as your very nature. This isn't denial of current circumstances. It's recognition of a deeper reality that transcends appearances. Behind the scenes of manifestation, this decree activates the final phase of creation, the gestation period where what's complete in consciousness begins its journey into physical expression. Just as a pregnant woman doesn't struggle to create the baby after conception, she simply provides the optimal conditions for what's already in process. You don't need to struggle to manifest what you've already conceived in consciousness. You simply maintain the nurturing environment of faith. The journey comes full circle when you recognize that this final decree, "it is finished," carries the same creative power as the first decree of creation, "let there be light." Both speak from the center of divine knowing rather than the edge of human hoping. Both acknowledge completion before physical evidence appears. Both rest in the certainty that what has been declared must, by cosmic law, come to pass. Leave "it is finished" in the comments if you're ready to enter this final phase of manifestation. If you're prepared to release all struggle and rest in the peaceful certainty that what you've conceived in consciousness is already complete and must inevitably appear in your experience. As we bring these transformative principles together into a practical October practice. As we bring these transformative principles together into a practical October practice, I want to thank you for taking this journey with me today. What we've explored isn't just theoretical knowledge, it's living wisdom that can completely transform your relationship with abundance when applied consistently. I've shared these principles because they've created profound shifts in my own life and in the lives of thousands I've worked with over the years. The wealth frequency isn't some mystical concept. It's a practical state of consciousness that you can embody starting tonight before you sleep. If this message resonated with something deep within you today, I'd love for you to become part of our conscious creation community. Subscribe to the channel where we explore these principles of manifestation in depth every week. I'm committed to sharing insights that go beyond surface-level techniques to touch the true source of transformation. The practice we've explored today becomes exponentially more powerful when applied consistently through October. That's why I create these meditations, to walk alongside you in this journey of consciousness transformation. If you found value in today's exploration, a simple, like on this video, helps others discover these principles too. It's a small gesture that creates ripples of transformation beyond what we can see. And if you're truly committed to embodying the wealth frequency starting tonight, leave "I am the wealth frequency" in the comments. This isn't just a comment, it's a declaration of the identity you're choosing to embody from this moment forward. For those ready to go deeper into these principles immediately, there's a video right here that explores how to maintain this vibration even when external circumstances seem to contradict your inner knowing. Click and continue this journey of consciousness transformation with me there. The wealth frequency is already within you. Let's continue activating it together.